Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. These are going to be my top 10 favorite foundations if you have a cool undertone. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video is part of an ongoing series that I'm doing on the channel where I talk about recommendations for if you're looking for cool tones, really. Not necessarily if you have cool tone skin, but if you're curious to try cooler tones on yourself, that's what the series is for. I've gone through a lot of the complexion products already, so bronzer, blush, highlight. I've also talked about lip products so far, but I definitely think the place where most people struggle to find good cool tones is in the complexion category. So I'm talking foundations and things like that. So that's why I thought we could talk about some of the things I've tried that I really like on myself in terms of foundation and the shade match that I'm getting, because we're not talking about formulas today, we're talking about shade matches. Before we get into the video, it may be good to know who I am and what I like doing on this channel. My name is Maaike, I live in the Netherlands, I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about makeup. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love trying out eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing. So today I have 12 foundations for you. There are going to be 2 honorable mentions because I've only just tried them, but because they are such good shade matches for me, I didn't want to leave them out. I have reviews up for all of these over on the blog, so we'll make sure to link you to those down below. And I will have affiliate links in the description box as well, so that if you're looking to purchase these, you can. But please be mindful that I could make a small commission if you choose to shop through those. What you will find if you go through some of the blog reviews is not only like a swatch on the back of my hand, but I also always take an image of what it looks like down my neck. Because with a lot of foundations, if they look good on me head on, they're not a good shade match for me here, which is a bit strange. That's why I always say I'm a cool to neutral or neutral to cool undertone. I definitely prefer more of a true neutral base on myself, but if I have to choose between a yellow undertone and a pink undertone, I will choose the pink undertone always, because it's just a little bit better for me, because I do have slightly cooler undertones to my skin, I find. But with my hair down and darker brows and darker eyes, I can definitely get away with some other things, but I feel that foundation matches can be so difficult if you are looking for the undertones, because everything is so yellow nowadays. So these are some of the things that I consider to be some of my best shade matches that I have in my collection. I have 5 drugstore options, 5 high-end options, and then I have 2 K-beauty things that I have tried recently. So I'm hoping to make this video as useful as possible, so we're kicking things off with the drugstore foundations. And what I will do is I will try to swatch them on the back of my arm. I'm filming this in natural lighting so that hopefully you can really see the differences between what these look like. Remember, these all work for me. That doesn't mean they're gonna work for you. I definitely think that depending on where you range in the skin tone spectrum, that this is of course going to be more than just cool tones. But I do know a lot of people are watching and who say things like, I think I look very similar to you, so what would your recommendations be? So this is for these people. If you have much deeper skin, I cannot really be of help when it comes to foundation swatches, you could say. So as I mentioned, I'm going to be swatching them on the back of my arm for you, so that hopefully you can get an idea of how all of these compare. You will see that these all look differently in a finger swatch. They just will. I definitely feel with foundation, and this is why I never ever do foundation swatches in other videos, it's mainly to do with the fact that you have to see it on your face and you have to see the full thing on your face for you to determine whether it's going to be a match or not. Especially with foundation, your skin's chemical makeup can mess with things. Things can oxidize depending on the weather, depending on how much you sweat. Those are all things that are gonna go into what a shade looks like on you. And I definitely feel that going by swatches on a content creator's channel, you're not going to find your match. You need to test it out, you need to try it yourself, but these are just my recommendations if you're looking for things. One of my favorites, not only shade wise but also formula wise, is by Kiko Milano. This is the Insta Moisture Glow, and the shade is 1R, which I believe is their lightest option. So that is a bit of a bummer there, because I wish they would go lighter and also deeper, because Kiko is not the best at doing like very light or very deep things. I think I'll just start here. So here is what the Kiko looks like on the back of my hand. It definitely has something a little bit orange to it. So it's not fully cool tone, I feel, but like I said, I do have that slightly neutral undertone. So for me, this really works. For me, this is one of my best matches. You can see it's still like pretty like full on, and it just disappears in my skin. I think that this can look, perhaps if you have a very cool undertone, this is probably going to look too orange on you. Also, if it's like not light enough for you, of course it's going to look orange. But I definitely think this is an option that you can look into. I don't think anything else in the Kiko range is necessarily going to be cool toned. They're not really good at doing undertones at Kiko. They tend to do yellow, like every other brand does. I don't blame them for that. I think one that's really nice and that's also really good if you have very light skin is the Missha Choboyang BB cream. This is one that is like one of my tried and trues. I have this in shade 17, and I definitely think it's very pretty. Now, K-Beauty is known for doing things that can be a little bit gray leaning. So that's why I think for a lot of people, K-Beauty can be very difficult to match to, because they tend to put whitening agents in their products, which, I mean, it has to be your cup of tea. And if that's something you're not a fan of, then maybe you're not going to like something like this. You're going to see that this is a lot lighter than the Kiko one for sure. So, and I think this even comes in a shade 13 if you are very light. This is very hydrating, very dewy. And I definitely think this is a really good option. Within K-Beauty, again, undertones tend to be really, really yellow toned, which is why I want to add two of my more recent trials towards the end of the video. But yeah, this is another one that I think is a really good match for me. It's light enough, especially in the winter time, and I really enjoy it. This one has gotten pretty hard to find, but I think that at the drugstore, this is one of the best shade matches I have ever found. It's the Born to Glow by NYX, and it's in the shade Porcelain. This is really pretty on. Again, very light, and I'm like spilling foundation everywhere. This is why I never swatch foundations, because it gets really messy. So here is what the NYX looks like. I feel it's pretty similar to the Missha Choboyang. Of course, I think the NYX also went lighter even than this. I think there was a shade called Alabaster, but I'm not sure if they still do these. I struggle finding the NYX Born to Glow here in Europe if I try to link it. So not sure if it's still available in the US, but it is definitely a really good shade match, and it's the foundation that made me want to try so much more drugstore foundation, because I just really like it. I know this comes in lighter shades, and I know this also comes in more cooler tone shades. This is one of my favorite foundations from Catrice. It's their tinted serum, like skin tint like foundation in shade 004N. That's the one I have, but that's the more neutral one, and they definitely do like pinky, more pink toned ones. You're gonna have to go online for those, because Catrice doesn't tend to put all of their products in their stores because they don't have enough space, they say, which I think is always a little bit weird when they say that, but that's what they say. This is, again, perhaps a little bit too yellow for some people, but like I said, this is what works for me, and I feel I can get away with a shade like this. The reason why I don't mind it if there's some yellow tone, like I don't want it to be true pink, because then it looks a little bit weird and it doesn't do a good enough job of covering up my redness. That's why I actually prefer my concealers to be slightly on the yellow tone side, because they have that color correction then in them. Having a little bit of something yellow in there, but still very sheer and light, I feel can work really well on my complexion, because it just helps sheer out the redness in my face. And that's why I say I feel almost like I need two different shades of foundation, because in order to match it here, I need a very pink toned foundation, but in order to get the coverage and the thing I want to have in the middle of my face, I need something that's a little bit more yellow because of the redness I have going on my nose and on my cheeks. So Here's the first 4 so far. And you can definitely see the difference in undertones, I think. And the Kiko has started to dry. So that's another thing I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you can see how everything has dried down as well. And finally, we have the Lumine in the shade Light. Now, this is a brand that's from Finland, and they specialized in light products. So this is definitely one that I think may be difficult to find depending on where you're at. But this is one of my favorites when I tried more drugstore foundations, so I knew I had to feature it here. It has a really good undertone, and I definitely think you can see, like, it's right here. It's definitely like the most pink toned one so far, I think. I'm gonna have to pull it a little bit more towards this side so you can really see it. So I definitely think this is a little bit more pink toned compared to everything else. And that may be a good one. I'm not sure how many of you have access to Lumine, and these are drugstore options, and that's why I wanted to start the video with drugstore, because I think the biggest struggle is drugstore foundations. Those are all yellow. Where you're going to find the true right, really good foundation matches is going to be higher end products. That's just been the game. Like, that's been part of the game for a very long time. If you want undertones, higher end brands will have them. Most affordable brands just don't, and the shade ranges are shoddy. So, but I did want to show you the options I have, just, you know, in case you're on a budget, in case you don't have that much money to spend, then you do have some options. And yes, all these shades work for me. They all work for me. I think one of the best shade matches in recent years that I've found is the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech, if we're talking higher end things. This is really, really pretty for me, and I really enjoy using this. It's in the shade 060 Fair Warm, which doesn't make any sense. Why is your pink toned foundation called warm? I don't get it. They're doing the MAC thing, I feel. So here I feel, again, it's light enough. It's really nice, rich and creamy. So if you like a more hydrating foundation, then you can. And here's what the Haus Labs looks like. You can just tell that this is by far one of the best shade matches that I have in my entire collection. Like, this is really, really good for me, and it has that pink undertone. And because of the formula, it still works for me as well. It still has like enough coverage that it does cover up my redness. So I really enjoy 060 Fair Warm. With the Haus Labs, I definitely recommend getting matched in store. Another really great shade match for me is the YSL All Hours in shade BR20. I'm not sure what the BR stands for anymore, but BR20 is one of my best shade matches as well. This is quite light, and of course the All Hours is quite full coverage as well. And that's another thing that I have found trying out foundations for such a long time. I mean, I think I've tried like 200 foundations in my day. The more full coverage your foundation is, the more important it is that you get an exact match. Because if something is very sheer, like the Catrice, you can get away with it blending down your neck really easily. With something as intense as this, it really doesn't. And this one does oxidize quite badly on me, but it does work. Here's what the YSL looks like. So here's all of them so far. Another one that I love for the shade match is the Armani Luminous Silk. This is in shade 3. Again, this is not going to be right for everyone, but I love that they have even lighter shades. For instance, in the Lumine, I'm in the lightest shade that they do. So that's usually an issue with some products as well, especially when it comes to foundations at the drugstore. I just buy the lightest shade. And hope for the best. And that's definitely not the case with something like the Giorgio Armani and also the Haus Labs ones. I think that both of those brands have some really good shade matches. So this is, again, a little bit more yellow toned, but it's not as like orange as the YSL that it's sitting next to. So here is the Armani. It's, again, really light. It is quite yellow though. So far, I think the Haus Labs one is the best one for a true pink undertone foundation if that's what you're looking for. Another one of my favorites, but that's currently a little bit too light for me, is this one from Estee Lauder. This is the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydra Rescue in the shade Porcelain. Really pretty shade as well for me. Like I said, more of a winter shade. And that's another thing that I have found, is that I do tend to change colors a little bit throughout the year. So something that works for me in the winter time isn't necessarily going to work for me in the summertime. So this is again quite pink, come to think of it. Here it is. So yeah, here is the Armani and here is the Estee Lauder. So here is all of them compared. So in the summertime, I don't tan. I don't like sit outside in the sun and like try to get a tan actively, but just from being exposed to more sunlight despite wearing SPF, I feel that in the summertime, my skin tone definitely changes a little bit. And then something like the Estee Lauder is just no longer going to match me. And the difference I then see is that it makes me look a little bit ghostly, a little bit pale. And that's definitely why I don't always love a true pink undertone in my foundations, because it can make me look quite dead. I feel that if there's a little bit more warmth to it, and that could be the neutral undertone that I have, that my face looks a little bit more alive. And then the final high-end option I have for you is by Lisa Eldridge. This is the Seamless Skin Foundation. I have mine in shade 5, and I was shade matched to this in store as well. And this is, again, like promoted as a neutral shade, which I like because so many brands don't even do neutral shades. And it's like always just going to be pink or yellow and you don't have anything in between. And this is why I sometimes prefer like slight peach tones on myself, like the Kiko one, because it tends to work quite well for me. This is, again, quite yellow compared to the Estee Lauder. Here is the Lisa Eldridge, and it's right there. But you can see that it pretty much blends away into my skin, so that's another thing that I really like. So here is all of them so far. This is the top 10 of all of my favorite foundation matches that I have ever tried. And you can see they are so different. So why does all of this work for me? Well, some of it works now in the summertime. Other things work in other places. And because I have been testing them out, but because I haven't done my full review, I'm just throwing 2 K-Beauty cushion foundations out there that have been really good shade matches for me as well. With K-Beauty, I have just found that some shades say number 21 and I'm good. But with others, it just doesn't work. So I'm usually like a 17 or a 21, sort of like in that spectrum within K-Beauty. I have the Clio Kill Cover Mesh Glow Cushion in shade 2 BP Lingerie. And this is really pretty. It's a little bit of a weird texture. I just bought the mini because I was I'm trying out 12 of these and I didn't want to like overdo it. Let me put it here. So here is the Kill Cover next to the Lisa Eldridge. Looks so much more peachy on screen than it does in real life. Like in real life, it looks true pink. Looks very pink, but that's a really nice shade match for me. But the one that I have been loving the most has been the Romand Bare Water Cushion in shade 02 Pure 21. And 02 Pure 21 is one of the 21 shades they do in this range. It also comes in a shade 17. This is light enough for me, and it has the right undertone. The other 21 shade is a warm tone. It's a yellow tone. And this, I think, compared to everything else, it may look a little bit peachy, but this is so nice on me, and I've been wearing it a lot in the past couple of weeks. And it is quite light. Here it is. I don't think you can really see that even. Can you see that? These are all of the foundations swatched next to one another so that you can hopefully see and get a bit of an idea of what all of these look like. As I mentioned, these are my perfect shade matches. That doesn't have to be your perfect shade match. We're all different. If you have cool skin, then some of these perhaps aren't going to work. I've said this from the start of the video. please be mindful that you need to go into stores to test things out. If possible at all, get yourself a tester. Ask them if they can pump some of the foundation out into a little like container for you so you can try it at home with your own lighting, because especially in stores with the really beautiful lighting they have, foundation is also going to look differently on you. So these are just my favorites in terms of like what they have to offer. Not all of these work for me year round. Some of these I like in the winter time, some of these I like in the summertime more so. But yeah, these I think work all really, really well for me. And you can definitely see there are some here that are, so you can see that the House Labs by far is the most pink toned one. So if you want good pink tones, maybe try the House Labs. I think that's one of the best ones I have found, giving you like a true pink undertone. Everything else has a little bit of warmth in, I find. So that's definitely something to take into account if you're looking for something that's truly, truly pink. I really hope that this video was helpful for you today, that you got something out of it. Like I said, foundation is something super personal, so try it out, test it out, ask for testers in store. Very often they can pump something out into a little container. If you bring it yourself, you could perhaps pump some of the tester out into the little container and ask and do it that way. Whenever you want to try a new foundation, I would definitely go that route. If you live in a country that has good access to makeup, you're in heaven. For me, I live in a bigger city in the Netherlands, and I can very often only find certain foundations online in my shade. But that's a point for another day. So thank you so very much for joining me here today. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. I make several videos every single week. This series will, of course, be continuing for the rest of the year. So if you'd like to stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.